Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Just like we always like to catch up with Alan Dershowitz when we get the chance here on Sid and Friends in the Morning. So, Mr. Dershowitz, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year. So great to catch up with you again here on the airwaves.
Well, thank you. You know, I always knew that John Catsimatidis was a great New Yorker, but until last night, I didn't realize he was a great Hollywood film star. My wife and I went to see Marty Supreme yesterday, and top right on the stage there is one of the stars, John Catsimatidis. He was great. He was absolutely great as the father, you know, the nasty guy who wouldn't give Marty the time of day. What a great actor you are.
The stage presence was something else, right, Mr. Dershowitz? I mean, it was a natural. Yeah, he was himself.
He was himself, except, you know, he's a nice guy, and the guy in the movie is not such a nice guy.
Right.
But what a great actor. Wow.
Well, you know, and matching wits with one of the better actors of this generation, really, you know, with Timothy Chalamet.
I didn't know him at all when I first did the show, and I was upset. Why is the director paying more attention to him than to me?
How'd they pick you? How did they figure out that you would be such a great character actor?
I don't know. Josh Safdie called me and offered it to me, and I said, yeah, why not? I mean, I didn't ask to get paid. I got paid.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody says you have a face for radio, but you actually have a face for films.
And he was looking like the part too, with the suspenders and sitting behind the Resolute desk and everything. That was a really great scene. And then obviously later in the movie as well, when the whole chaos was happening at their house, that was also pretty intense. But you know, Mr. Dershowitz, it's great to be able to chat about something like you know, films and artistic expression. And by the way, in terms of Safdie, I don't know this for sure. I've kind of assumed that he must be a radio fan, because in past films, he had Mike Francesa cast in a role. In this movie, not only John, but also Marianne from Brooklyn was in the shoe store there at the beginning, and she's a big Stern Show fixture. So,
well, I can tell you, I'm a big radio fan. I grew up on The Lone Ranger and, you know, all those great radio shows of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. You know, people used to say back then, radio is better than television because the pictures are better, because you picture these people in your mind. I knew what the Lone Ranger looked like. Then they put him on television, and I was a little disappointed. You know, Superman was much better on the radio than he was on television. So I learned classical music from radio, WQXR, opera, and so much from radio. You know, Woody Allen's great movie, Radio Times, is really an homage to back in those days when Woody and I grew up together in Brooklyn.
So, Professor Dershowitz, our guest here on Sid and Friends in the Morning, and we've been catching up on some fun holiday things, including going to the movies, which is something that a lot of people do this time of year. So, Professor Dershowitz, you know, we've talked at length about some of the, you know, issues that we're facing right now, you know, including some of the Supreme Court cases that have been in front of the nation's highest court recently. And then we also talked earlier about the attack that the U.S. military launched against terrorists in Nigeria, because, you know, those Christians and that population has been so brutalized there. I know you've been obviously hyper aware of the way, you know, violent Islam has been victimizing, you know, any number of people, including obviously Jews in great number. But this is something that unfortunately is affecting a lot of communities around the world.
No question. And remember that ISIS is an equal opportunity abuser. Yes, they target Jews and Christians because we're not Muslims, but they also target their own people. They also target Muslims. They target children and women of every faith, and they have to be destroyed. And the world is a safer place when President Trump goes after ISIS, whether they go after him in Syria or whether they go after them in Nigeria. We're not the policemen of the world, but we understand that ISIS is an enemy of the entire world. And Islamic terrorism, whether it occurred in northern Israel yesterday, where a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old was stabbed to death and murdered by Islamic terrorists, you have to get them everywhere they are, whether it's Australia, whether it's New York, or whether it's Nigeria. So I'm proud of our country for doing the job that too many countries themselves won't do in going after their Islamic terrorists.
Longtime professor of law at Harvard University, one of the top legal minds in America, Professor Alan Dershowitz. We were just talking there about the U.S. military launching the attack in Nigeria. What about this ruling last week, I guess it was, from the Supreme Court, or maybe it was earlier this week, that the National Guard can't be deployed into Chicago to fight against crime? Why did the Supreme Court decide that? Like, what's the legal basis of that opinion?
Well, there's a statute, and the statute says that you can send in the National Guard only if, and then there's a phrase, that conventional kind of attacks won't do it. And the Supreme Court construed the statute very narrowly and said, well, maybe the military could do it. But then there's a sentence saying, well, if it's legal for the military to do it. So I actually don't agree with the decision. I think the decision misinterpreted the statute and created a condition that is impossible to meet. What they said is, on the one hand, send in the military. On the other hand, well, maybe it's not legal to send in the military. So what are you going to do? You going to allow the police in Chicago to monitor this? You know who the victims are? The victims are young black men who are murdered so often in Chicago by other black men. It's black on black gangland killings. And the police of Chicago and the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois have proved incapable of doing this. And so I think the Supreme Court rendered the wrong decision. I'm not usually on the side of the three conservative justices, but this time I think that they had a better understanding of the statute than the six-member majority did.
Professor, from your unprecedented range of world peace and law-abiding citizens, what's your professional view of Prime Minister Netanyahu's view of another nuclear attack to neutralize Iran's nuclear capabilities to protect Judeo-Christians, Kurds, Muslims, and law-abiding people throughout the Middle East and worldwide?
Well, Bibi knows better than anybody else through the intelligence services. I'm a good friend of David Barnea, who's the head of the Mossad and a good friend of Bibi, and I trust them to determine Israel's safety better than I trust anybody outside of the country. So if Bibi and Barnea and the others say that there's now an additional risk, and the risk is not so much a nuclear risk, at least not for the next year or so, it's these rockets that Iran is developing, thousands and thousands of rockets, and their goal is to overwhelm Iron Dome and to send thousands of rockets into homes, into kindergartens, into schools, into synagogues, into churches, and that has to be stopped. And Israel could stop it. It doesn't need American military aid. All it needs is a green light from Trump to allow Netanyahu to do the job that Israel should be doing, and that is destroying Iran's capability of turning Israel into a target for its multiple weapons with many warheads and explosives. And so I think Israel should have the right to protect itself without interference from the United States.
Alan Dershowitz, our guest here on Sid and Friends in the Morning. So, Professor Dershowitz, they had this speech yesterday where Jimmy Kimmel was on in the UK blasting the rise of fascism in the U.S. and, talking about how awful it is here and all this kind of stuff. But I found that kind of interesting because isn't it true that in the United Kingdom, you don't really have freedom of speech? I see these people get arrested all the time on videos for posting something on social media, or they made some pointed opinion commentary on Facebook or something, and then they get arrested. So, I mean, that's a pretty stark difference between what we have here, in theory, anyway, in the U.S.
Britain is the worst of all possible countries when it comes to free speech because it's selective. They allow hate speech against Jews. They allow hate speech against Christians. They allow hate speech against Americans, but they limit some kind of speech. So, when you give the government the power to censor, it's going to always use censorship in a selective way. And Great Britain has shown how it abuses the power of censorship. Look, the greatest threat to America comes from the Jimmy Kimmels of the world, comes from the hard left. The hard left are the new fascists. The hard left are the new McCarthyites in America. And let's at least focus on where the great danger is. Look, there's danger from the right, too, the Tucker Carlsons and some of the vicious anti-Semites of the right that are now emerging. But the Republican Party is doing a better job of marginalizing their extremists than the Democratic Party is doing, which is why I've left the Democratic Party and will be helping the Republicans maintain control of the House and the Senate in the midterm elections, not because I love everything the Republicans stand for. I don't, but I just despise what's happened and what seems to be happening to the Democratic Party and it's manifested late night television. Nobody watches late night television anymore because if you want to do politics, go to a political science class. But if you want to hear funny jokes, don't turn on late night television because it's not funny. It's Jimmy Kimmel, unfunny Jimmy Kimmel, unfunny to all these other people. And so I'm not a fan of late night television. Bring back radio, the Lone Ranger, Superman. Bring back radio.
The shadow knows. That's what we need. All right.
And can you top this? The funniest comedy show ever on radio was a show called Can You Top This? They would give these 5 comedians a topic and give them 10 seconds to come up with the funniest joke. I learned so many of my jokes from radio, and I use it in my teaching. I use it in the courtroom. Humor is very, very important. But the one thing about humor is it has to be funny. And humor today on television, left-wing humor on television today is just not funny.
Yeah, we're going to send a note to Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. Time to be funny. Time to be
Professor. Years ago, when me and you were growing up, we would consider what's going on right now bizarro world. Yeah. I can't believe this happened to our country.
Yeah. And one of the great things about the movie that you were in yesterday is it brings us back to the 1960s in New York. It really, really brought back memories for me. I played ping pong. I loved ping pong growing up. But what I loved about New York was, the faces, the people, the diversity. Everybody was equal. Everybody was struggling hard. There were kids whose parents came from Greece like you parents. Whose parents come from Poland like my grandparents. Everybody was the same, and we were all striving, and we were all hoping for a better world. And you know what? We got it. And we're losing it fast.
Yeah. And you know what, Professor Dershowitz, in that movie, Marty Supreme, the character, Marty, he's taking edge where he can, and he's looking to take advantage when he can, but he's not looking for a handout. You know what I mean? Like, it's the story of his hustle, the story of his ambition, and that's something that a lot of Americans could benefit from right now.
I grew up with Marty's. There were so many friends of mine I knew who were always looking for the next hustle. They were looking for every advantage they could get. They were as obnoxious as Marty, but the thing about the film, you get to, in the end, admire his obnoxiousness, his cojones, his willingness to, demand what he thought he could get, and without giving away the ending, it worked, and it really was New York back in the day, and that's, I think, why a lot of New Yorkers liked it. I wonder how this film will do in the Midwest. I suspect not as well. I think it's really a New York phenomenon.
That is possible. Yeah, no, there's definitely, and much like a lot of the Safdie brothers films, like New York is kind of a character in the movie in and of itself. So
I couldn't believe it. It was like 6 o'clock at night, and there were no tickets. We sat in the last row of the movie. There were no tickets. The place was totally filmed on Christmas. I thought only Jews went to the movies on Christmas after having that Chinese meal.
There you go.
No, I think the place was filled with people of every background.
Yeah, no, you could do a lot worse than a little Chinese food and a Blockbuster on a Christmas afternoon. So, Professor Dershowitz, so great to catch up with you as always, and we look forward to doing it next time.
Good, and can't wait for John's next movie.
All right, I need a good agent.
He's talking to casting directors right now. The phone's ringing off the hook. It's the president. It's the casting.
If you need a lawyer to help negotiate your next deal, just give me a call. Okay?
There you go, John.
Definitely do that.
I know a star when I see one.
Thank you so much, Professor.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Craig Eaton is calling us right now. And Craig, Merry Christmas. Always great to have you on the show.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, WABC family, and all of our listeners.
Absolutely. Very well said. Hopefully you had a good holiday yesterday. Were you traveling? Were you local? How was that for you?
I was in New Jersey, actually, at my in-laws. Ate too much, drank too much. Now I'm at Newark Airport, heading out of town for the new year, and it's actually not that bad here.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, that's a good report to provide, because I guess earlier I know Noam was talking about New Jersey Transit having some problems, but good to hear that maybe Newark Airport is not experiencing any of those. So, Craig, what's on your mind this morning? I mean, we were just chatting with the president about all that he's doing with striking back against the terrorists in Nigeria. Prior to that, we were talking about killing some of these offshore wind projects, which is a pretty big win for conservatives around the tri-state area. All that and more obviously going on right now. But as we get into 2026 here, what are you thinking about?
Well, I'm glad that the president, introduced before I got here. So he was the introduction. Now I'm here. It's an honor to follow the president. But I'll tell you, a lot of stuff happening over the weekend. This Nigeria thing is scary. Venezuela is scary. In fact, I'm going to be like 20 miles away from there in Aruba for the next week. So that's even more frightening. And the wind tunnels. I mean, I just don't understand the wind tunnels. Why don't they don't just stop them? They are not good. They're dangerous. They kill all of our fish in the waters. And I just don't think they add anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems as though more and more people are starting to wake up to that. And whether it's the inefficiency behind the construction of some of these wind turbines, or, John was referring to the fact that it's really difficult to get some of that power back to the substations in terms of the turbines being off site. And we know that that's kind of an ongoing thing with some of that new forms of power. You kind of almost have to power up batteries and then hope that you can store that for a set amount of time. So, yeah, there's any number of concerns there.
But that's a dangerous thing. No neighborhood wants those batteries in their neighborhood.
That's also true.
I mean, Staten Island doesn't want them, but Nassau County doesn't want them, Suffolk County doesn't want them, Brooklyn doesn't want them, Queens doesn't want them.
We don't want
Where are you going to store this stuff?
You know what the problem I think too is? I think that the Biden administration went all in on these wind tunnels too fast without really investigating the negatives and the downsides and the problems from it. And then I think once they went all in and the people started doing research and, the scientists and the engineers looked at it, they said, hey, this isn't, look, we need alternate energy. But I think when the engineers looked at it and they said, look at the downside and all the problems that these create, the Biden administration didn't really look into that. They were just going, 100% all in on it, like they did what they wanted to get rid of, gas stoves. Everything had to be electric and no more gas cars in 2029, which was another ridiculous thing. But all of these things, the Biden administration went in, all in, without looking at the ramifications and the problems with it.
Craig, you're completely correct, because the biggest campaign contributors to the prior administration were the wind tower people who had flawed technology, which will have a negative return on capital for decades and never produce a profit for, in our estimate from the Cornell College of Engineering, for 30 to 50 years. So total loser compared to all the energy that John and Noam and Ed Cox and everyone else on John's dream team have been advocating in terms of balanced power with the president.
Well, this was going to kill all the whales and all of the sea life in the ocean. No one even looked at that ramification to these. So the vibration of this is so dangerous to the ecosystem and all of this, the fish in the oceans. So, I mean, look, I think that President Trump is amazing what he's doing. He researches, he thinks, he's up 24 hours a day working, analyzing, investigating. It's not just, an auto pen on a piece of paper. Before he signs something, he looks into it and he looks at all of the ramifications of it. And that's what we need in the White House.
But John, Craig, it wasn't until you, John, Margot, Noam, and your great WABC team called it out, called for the investigation. The truth came out, and it was reviewed as one of the biggest financial frauds in modern American history through political pay and contributions, ruining the taxpayers' finances and killing energy costs, going up from 1.5% to 2% a year to 15 to 30% a year. It's inexcusable, unconscionable. People should be in prison for this, in my professional view.
100%. Have a wonderful day, John. We love you. Thank you. Thank you for all you guys do.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
John, joining us on the line right now, Ed Cox, the chairman of the New York GOP. And, it's an interesting time right now with Elise Stefanik having dropped out of the race. Bruce Blakeman was there at the screening of the film earlier this week, as was Governor Hochul. So you had at the same event, as chronicled by the New York Times, you had Blakeman and Hochul, the top contenders for the governorship as we get into the election year coming up pretty soon here. So, Ed, how are you? Merry Christmas. Good to have you on the show.
Merry Christmas Day after Christmas, James. It's good to be on the show with you and John and Bert.
Yeah, good to have you. And, John, what do you think? Was that an interesting conversation you had with Governor Hochul? You told her that you're tired of the congestions caused by the bike lanes.
No, I didn't say that. I said to her, they created more congestion. And they put up a double bike lane on 3rd Avenue, and there's a bus lane on the other side. And with the double bike lane and the bus lane, you're down to 3 lanes. So you're creating the congestion of the century. Ed, New York has been voted #1 in congestion in the world. Worse than London, worse than Paris.
They're also dangerous. I almost got run over by a bike when they put that new bike lane down 3rd Avenue right in front of your studios. And you have to look both ways because bikes go both ways on it. So it's not only congestion; it's also dangerous.
Very dangerous. You can't see. Somebody. We had people in the studio a couple of months ago, and they said they're going to get the bicycles and the motorcycles down to 15 miles an hour, or mopeds. And guess what?
Right.
These people are going to, they're determined to kill you.
Good luck getting the traffic down to 15 miles an hour. It's not going to happen. I've never seen it enforced. I got to tell you. New Yorkers are impatient to get from here to there. The only thing that's going to bring it down to 50 miles an hour is congestion of traffic in New York City because of the bike lanes and the bus lanes.
Yep. And,
not to mention the Federal Express and the UPS delivery, but that happened to be on both sides of the same avenue, along with the bike lanes. You're down to 1 lane if you're lucky.
Ed Cox, our guest here on Sid and Friends in the Morning, head of the New York GOP. So, Ed, is it one of those things with the additional revenue that the MTA has now claimed as a result of congestion pricing? Is that sort of just a lost issue now? Like, is this the kind of thing where you think once that tax money is taken, it's gone forever and, New Yorkers and people living around the tri-state have to just kind of deal with that reality? Or do you think that under potentially a Bruce Blakeman governorship that maybe we could get rid of something like congestion pricing?
Absolutely. Look, remember the old commuter tax that really is the same as congestion price, same thing, and that went away. And congestion pricing. If when we elect a Republican governor, and we make sure that there are super minorities in both of Republicans in both houses of the legislature, that means we break the super majorities that the Democrats have, at least in the Assembly now. We broke it in 24 in the Senate. Then that Republican governor can govern, and we will get rid of congestion pricing.
And the last time that we were chatting, Ed, I know you've probably been on the air since then, but you and I were talking about it. You were kind of excited about the idea of a Bruce Blakeman campaign being able to coalesce around the conservatives on Long Island and, you know, pushing outward to try to maybe kind of beat back some of the inherent advantage Democrats have with New York City. So I'm assuming that you feel the same way now that we know Blakeman is kind of standing alone on the GOP side.
Absolutely. Look, what happened was that after the disastrous 2018 election, not only did Ocasio-Cortez beat Crowley in that big surprise, everyone focused on that, but at the same time, in the Democratic primaries, 6 independent Democrats were defeated, and they had given us the majority, the Republicans majority in the state Senate, and that majority in the state Senate stopped a lot of bad laws from happening. From there on, it was Katie bar the door to the radical leftists who, through those primaries, control the legislature. And Cuomo went right along with it because he knew that his party was going to the radical left, and he wanted to be president of the United States, go where his father didn't go. And so he went right along with it, with the criminal laws, the pro-criminal laws, raise the age, cashless bail, the discovery law changes, and then on the environmental side, with this restricting the use of gas, in formalizing in legislature the ban on fracking in the southern tier. That's a major industry that was killed by Cuomo purely for his own political purposes, and it still is there, putting restrictions on pipelines and use of gas. It'll get rid of gas stoves in the end. Those laws, which were passed after that disastrous 18 election, are still in place and being enforced by Hochul, and the judges also said, "Oh, you gotta follow the law." They should be changed, and they're only going to change if we elect a Republican governor and super minorities in the legislature.
Well, we have to disclose it. That's Ed Cox speaking, and he's the chairman of the Republican state party. And Ed, I mean, I think that there could be a lot of improvements, but the more competition in the state assembly and the state Senate, and I think we've gone down the wrong road in the last few years.
Yeah, when
was it when we lost the 6 senators that were independent Democrats?
That was in the 2018 elections.
So after that, from 2018, we went downhill.
That's it. We went downhill.
Now, we had Governor Pataki was the speaker to Police Athletic League last week or the week before. I forget. I think it was the week before.
It was last week. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said that, and he was the governor up to about 2000. Was it
2006.
2006, and he says the budget in 2006 for the state was $120 billion, and now it's $260 billion or $270 billion.
And growing, exactly. It is over the last 5 years, the budget has been growing at twice the rate of inflation.
And at what point did the business? I usually have on my Sunday show Paul Zuber from the New York State. What is it? Not Business Association. and they represent 3,000 businesses in the country, in the state. And they're very upset.
They should be upset. I mean, business are being, big and small, are being driven out of New York by the high cost. Our energy costs are among the highest in the nation, 40% more than the average, simply because we do not use the natural gas, which we have a plenty here in New York. We're the only
everybody
state.
pushes natural gas, but that nursing home in Pennsylvania that blew up, every time you hear a house blowing up, every time you hear something blowing up, guess what? It's gas.
Oh,
and I'm in the oil. Disclosure. I'm in the oil business.
Nice disclosure.
I'm in the oil business.
Getting it out there.
But have you ever heard of a home blowing up because you're heated by oil?
I've heard of them blowing up because of lithium batteries, big lithium batteries.
We're not in electric cars either.
Yep.
Look, there are lots of problems with all, but you have to understand that China is building hundreds of coal plants that use dirty coal, that pollutes the air, if you want, and they are, and the result is that they are able to, because they have cheap power, to produce manufacturers cheaper than we do, and they were flooding and destroying manufacturing jobs here in the United States. It was only President Trump's tariffs that stopped that. Well, guess what? They're now flooding Europe. They're now flooding South America and Southeast Asia with the same cheap manufacturers because they have cheap energy, because they don't care about the environment. They only care about growing their economy with cheap manufacturers.
Chairman Cox and John, America's enriching Putin and the Russians. Today in the Boston Harbor, he's unloading liquefied natural gas at 350% more than what it would cost from Pennsylvania, New York State, and the Middle Atlantic region. So it's punishing American consumers throughout the country. 70% of people living paycheck to paycheck can't afford to keep from freezing in their own homes, and $100,000 jobs throughout the Northeast and the Middle Atlantic states and the Central states are being killed by the blue state governors who are refusing to permit the constitutional pipeline, heavy oil number 3, and all kinds of other mixed energy uses to keep the money away from the Russians, keep it in America, the Russians, and blue-collar jobs that carry the future.
You know, let me give you
right on.
Let me give you the update. I mean, I'm in the oil business. I'm the one that knows what the story is. Russia is starting to go broke. Why? Because crude oil, the WTI is down to the middle 50s, 55, 56. And guess what? To sell their oil, they got to still give a discount. So they were making $1 billion a day under Joe Biden. Russia was making $1 billion a day in oil sales. They're now down to maybe 300 or 400 million.
But that's because of their war in Ukraine and the fact that
that has nothing to do with the Ukraine. Ukraine is an expenditure. I'm talking about income.
No, they have been penalized. They have to sell at discounts because of sanctions on their oil trades. And that's why China is buying their oil at discounts. Using these fleets of illegal vessels that are carrying the oil around. And by the way, it's good that President Trump is finally cracking down on those fleets, particularly with respect to export of oil from Venezuela.
Well, Ed Cox, thank you for calling in today, and I'll see you tonight. And we had fun last night being on together.
We sure did. John.
And
we enjoyed it.
And Governor Patterson gave you a ride home, and that was the good news.
Yeah, enjoyed it very much. See you tonight.
Thank you so much.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Joining us on the phone right now, it is Gary Krupp, who is the director of the Pave the Way Foundation, an interfaith organization that really works to try to connect the ties that don't bind, right?
Everybody connects Jews, Christians, Muslims. He does a terrific job, and he has been recognized by the Vatican. How many medals have you gotten from the Vatican, Gary?
Well, three popes have knighted me, and a lot of other medals and a lot of other recognition. This is just, what it is it's, John, you and I work for a higher authority. So that's really the major recognition is there.
I don't know if you're listening, that President Trump just called in about 20 minutes ago, and he talked about he's trying to save Christians in Nigeria, and that he bombed ISIS to teach them a lesson about killing Christians in Nigeria.
Right. This is a critical time in our history.
And by the way, he's also fired like 15 ambassadors for Africa. And I didn't have a chance to ask him why, but there must be something going wrong.
I think that he's, I hate the expression draining the swamp, because the swamp is an ecological system that nature gives. It should be draining the sewer, and that's exactly what he's doing. And, the fact that he had 4 years to plan what they did to him the first 4 years. Now he had 4 years to plan how to deal with this, and that's what he's doing. I believe that's absolutely what he has to do. There are some really bad people out there who are in it for their own dollar and so on, and this is who they're identifying and getting rid of. And the fact that, as you point out, John, as a member of our Pave the Way Foundation, you're on our board of directors and follow all of this. We've been following this for years, and there are all kinds of situations that come up, and the fact that he's acting to go after ISIS for killing the Nigerians, and it's it's incredible, because when you don't hear the heads of any of the major Christian religions saying anything about it. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing anything in South Africa, where the white farmers are being killed. He is acting, and I have to tell you, John, Pave the Way is in 19 countries, and I'm in touch with everybody all the time, as you can well imagine. Everybody in Europe, and I am telling you, in Belgium, in Germany, in England, in France, all our people, everybody there say, I wish we had a government that's run like the United States today. We need Trump here. That's what they're telling me. And you can see it's actually because you have these feckless leaders that are doing absolutely nothing about the violence that's occurring. In France, I mean, this is the most wonderful time of the year. It's one of my favorite holidays is Christmas from the time I was a little boy. And being Jewish, but it still is. It's a wonderful time of the year. And the fact that Paris had to cancel a Christmas festival out of fear of violence, and they're letting this happen. Nobody's doing it. And the fact that most Muslims are good people. They're good people who love their faith and love their religion and are petrified of Sharia law and petrified of the extremists. And how do we know this? Because our very, very, very connected Muslim scholars and experts on this all tell us that they're biggest supporters of Muslims when they're opposing the caliphate. And that's what's happening. And it's almost irreversible. I'm telling you, in England, it's very, very dangerous. And it's something that's bad. But God gave us a president, and I think he knows it as well, because you could see that providence has kept him going along with doing what he's doing. But what he's done is incredible, and he's sending a message. He sends messages all over the world. This is critical, especially to people that they brutalize and they commit violence, and the normal everyday person will shy away from violence. And by the way, this is why many of the things that we do, we can't get reported. And John, you know this personally because you helped us with the covenants of protection that the Prophet Muhammad ordered his followers to protect Christians and Jews. No media coverage. Why? Because, do you remember the Charlie Hebdo attack in Paris?
Yes.
And this is the problem. So all the media are petrified that they're going to get attacked if they say something negative.
Let me ask you, gut feeling, because I have a gut feeling. Notre Dame, was that a terrorist attack?
Absolutely. This cathedral has been there for hundreds of years, and you're telling me it's an electrical fire? This is why the media hides this. They don't tell you. And what does it do? It disarms the world, disarms the general public. If you know, not for example, this morning, I think 17 people, there was a knife attack in Japan. Now, the fact that they intentionally hide, who was it that did it? What, did he scream something out? I don't know for a fact that happened, that this was a Muslim that did this. But the fact that they hide this is dangerous. It keeps people off guard. And you know, it's a very frightening time. But we have to act, and thank God we have Donald Trump as our president, because he's actually doing this. And you know, John, I grew up 2 miles from him on the poor side of Union Turnpike, and his brother Robert Trump, God rest his soul, was one of our first donors to Pave the Way Foundation almost 25 years ago, and did every year during the time he was alive. So we miss him, but he's like a gift of God. This is. You know, these things that happen. They tried to kill him twice. The way Congress acts towards, and these activist judges, it's incredible. And he wins time and time again. It's unbelievable. So you have to say this is divine intervention. Now,
tell the people. We have a few more minutes. Tell the people on what happened with Muhammad and the Ark of the Covenant that we talked about, because I don't think the average American knows about it.
Well, Muhammad died in 632. In 628, now understand, Muhammad is the one that gave the gift of the Quran to the Muslim world. He wrote the Quran. So everything that the terrorists are quoting, they're quoting the Quran's words. But in 628, 4 years before he died, he issued the covenants of protection with the Christians of Mount Sinai in St. Catherine's Monastery, and then subsequently multiple other protections for Jews and Christians. Why? They are not infidels. They believe in one God as we do, and they're in our community. So he tells them, and I actually sent you the translation. The images of these documents are on our website in the peace section, and you can actually read the translations with the prophet's handprint on them, you know, certifying them, and it's very, very, very clear to protect them. They're part of our community, and so on. The fact is that the violent monsters who have stolen Islam from the legitimate Muslims have decided, well, we don't want to pay attention to the covenants. In fact, there was an article, I remember this years ago, when you and I did this project with the covenants in the New York Times. We published them, if you remember, because they wouldn't do it. You paid for the ad. that Huffington Post had an article that ISIS is declaring war on the covenants. It's unbelievable. We actually used, if you recall, with the Halki Seminary, I used the covenants with the letter to the Prime Minister of Turkey to remove the Islamic objection to the opening of the Halki Seminary in Turkey. It's not open yet, but we removed the Muslim objection to it. But the bottom line is that people they're not aware of this, and the media is at fault. It's unbelievable, and it's a very serious issue.
Yes. Gary, we're going to continue this conversation. Thank you so much for calling in.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody.
Merry Christmas, Gary.
Thank you.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hold on.
Mr. President?
I had to save that attack for Christmas Day. Do you agree?
I agree. I am in the studio right now broadcasting to 1 million people.
Oh, wow.
Would you like to say hello to them?
That's great. Yes, I will, but I have to go quick because I have China.
We'll do it right now. You got China on the other line. President Trump is on the line. Mr. President, say hello to 1 million people for WABC.
Millions and millions knowing how successful your show is. They all love listening to John and his great wisdom. That's good.
And President Trump, like I said to you, to save those Christian lives in Africa, because there's so many Christians losing their lives, and you did a great job.
Tens of thousands of Christians, and I told Nigeria and I told the people around Nigeria that if you do it, you're going to get hit. And I said yesterday, hit them on Christmas Day. It'll be a Christmas present. We hit ISIS, who are terrible. They're butchers. And we really hit them hard in different locations, and they really got hit hard yesterday. So they got a very bad Christmas present.
And I've told people that Maduro, Venezuela, if Venezuela is going to provide a lot more oil to the United States of America if Maduro leaves.
Well, it's about a lot of things. It's about that. It's about, they took our oil. They took it. And they also sent millions of people in there from jails into our country, from jail. Some of the worst people on earth, Tren de Aragua. They emptied their jails into the United States. As you know, they send drugs in. And I don't know if you know, John, but drug traffic is down by sea now, 97.2%.
Wow. Nobody understands, Mr. President, that why the Democrats are objecting to knocking out those boats that are carrying drugs that are going to kill our people.
Well, they're only objecting because I'm the one doing it. If it were anybody else, even another Republican, let's say you take a weak Republican, they would say, that's all right. But because they have Trump derangement syndrome, they're sick people. There's something wrong with them. But every time I knock out a boat, we save 25,000 American lives. It's very simple. And what's happening is they're having a hard time employment-wise. They can't get anybody. And we just knocked out, I don't know if you read or you saw, they have a big plant or a big facility where they send where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out. So we hit them very hard. But drugs are down over 97%. Can you believe it?
That is, you have done a miracle for all Americans. You're bringing down, you brought down the price of gasoline tremendously. You brought down interest rates.
Gasoline's down much more than they even say, because in California, they just, if it goes down, they just take more tax. They raise the tax. If it goes down 5 cents, they raise the tax 5%. We're down to $2 in many states. We're under $2 a gallon in many states. It's like a really big tax cut of what we've done with gasoline. And gasoline and energy generally is way down. And also with energy, as you know, because it's such a big, and you're very successful at energy, John. If you are so big at it and you're so knowledgeable, when you get energy down, everything comes down. It's just, there is no second factor that's even close.
And
when you bring down the cost of energy, everything comes down. And all prices are coming down after 4 years of Biden.
And it's another way of breaking President Putin, because if the price of oil is coming down to the low 50s and he's still selling it at a discount, Russia's going to go broke.
Well, it doesn't help him, that I can tell you.
Yes.
It's not exactly helpful. I think we're making some progress on that front. We ended 8 wars, and I have 1 more to go. And that one I thought would have been an easy one because I do get along well with him, but has not turned out to be the easiest. Has turned out to be the toughest. We ended 8, including India and Pakistan, who were really going at it. That was going to be the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 10 million lives at least. So I think we did. But I'm going to get the other one. I think we're going to get some good news on the other one.
We just got some breaking news that you're having Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago on Sunday, and I said, you work 7 days a week. You, including Christmas.
I work about the same hours as you do, which is all the time. I don't know, we'll have a contest for who works longer hours and who works harder. And then we'll also have a contest for who works smarter, because you got to work smart.
Well,
I'm very smart.
I once told you I follow you.
Okay, John. Well, you're great.
Thank you.
It's great that I got your show. For the people listening, I called up just to thank John. He said some nice things about me. I end up being on a radio show, but that's okay.
All right. Thank you so much,
care, John.
President Trump, great to talk to you. We'll tell Sid you said hello as well. He's going to be jealous that you called him without him.
Sid is the greatest. I'll tell you. You're great. You have a great guy. Don't lose him, John. Don't lose him. Okay.
Right. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, and thank you for doing a great job for America.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Mr. President.
So long, fellas.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, how about that? That is not something that necessarily happens every day, John.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen every day.
Breaking news at the end of the year.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Now, how bad were the airlines yesterday? You sent me a picture that you looked like you were dying in the airplane.
You know, I don't know what they do with airlines when they make you. It's like they want to freeze you out when you're sitting there. I mean, it's like you got to bring every time in the summertime. I bring a thermal hat. I bring a snorkel jacket, and this is just to sit in the airline and say, no. Every time I take a JetBlue flight or I take a Delta, it's always cold. I don't know what they do. They just want to free. I think they want to keep you awake, but God, it's so cold. It was brutal. I got out. It was 70-degree weather in Louisiana, but on the plane it had to be 40-degree weather.
Wow,
terrible.
Now, Louisiana, what the heck are you doing down there?
You know what? My wife's family. It's obviously Christmas, and I'm Jewish, so to me, it's still a special day. But you want to spend time with the family. But what do you do when the family's food sucks and you want to eat it in the middle of the night? How do you tell the people? Do you not eat it? What do you do with a situation
you go to Antoine's or Commander's Palace instead and say you're paying.
You can't do that on Christmas Eve. Nothing's
open.
New Orleans is open 24 hours a day for gambling, including Election Day for the first time now in 35 days every day of the year.
You can't walk out on a family and say, excuse me, your food sucks. I'm going over to somewhere else.
Oh, bring them with you.
Well, what kind of food do they serve in Louisiana for Christmas?
No, you know what? It was just regular food. It was just... I don't know.
You get boiled crawfish? Boiled crawfish?
They've done the alligator before, and they've done stuff, but it's not good. It's not tasty. It's like you sit there and they try to make these things. If it's really heavy and you don't want to eat it, you know what that's like, John. When they start serving you heavy food and you're just not in the mood to eat it, but it wasn't good.
Crawfish étouffée?
No, I don't see.
John, you got to go to the other parishes, or what we call counties up here. St. John Tammany Parish, Plaquemines Parish, all the deep Delta parishes for that home-cooked Louisiana fresh-caught fish and shellfish and seafood for the best hometown cooking. Forget about the relatives. Go to the professionals who get it right out of the ocean.
I love the seafood gumbo. I love the spicy food. I love they have a crystal hot sauce that when you get
amazing.
Louisiana. And it's just, and the oysters. I don't know how do you find these oysters? There's no real ocean in the middle of Louisiana. I guess there is with the Gulf Coast, and I guess what do they call it now? It's not called. What do they call Mexico now? It's
Gulf of America.
Gulf of America. That's right.
Go to the New Orleans Oyster House and go to Deanie's for broiled sea fish in Midtown, Mid-City.
This Bert knows his way around.
I'm telling you, Bert is like a travel guide.
I did the most comprehensive study of Hurricane Katrina and Rita and how the city got wrecked because Andrew Cuomo, when he was head of HUD, gave all the money that was supposed to go to withstand hurricane level 5, 6, and 7. He gave it all to Walmart for a free distribution center, free shopping center, free super center, and free luxury housing.
I don't know about that. Who knows? I mean,
I know I did the.
Let me get to Todd. Todd, what's on your mind this day after Christmas?
You ever see what the people look like a Waffle House?
Yep.
The average rear end is at least 60 inches.
Same with the IHOP on Veterans Highway in New Orleans, too.
No, but Waffle House is a special place. It's
amazing.
24 hours, and first of all, they have great chili. And great, if you're looking for fast food like the White Castle of the South, it's Waffle House. And
great taste, great people, great service.
I prefer old-fashioned pancakes versus waffles.
Yeah, you're not.
I don't know. How do you feel about it, Todd? I mean, you're a waffle person or a pancake person?
John, your son Yanni is a huge Waffle House. Every time we go down to Florida, we always wind up a Waffle House at some point.
Smart young son.
Really? I mean, yesterday he played Santa Claus for his for my grandson.
John,
he was all dressed up.
That must have. How was it? Was it beautiful, John? That first Christmas with J3.
Yes, his eyes were all open. The number one item in his eyes were the trains going around the tracks around the tree.
Oh, that's amazing!
Yeah,
it's just an old fashioned Christmas. Trains going around the Christmas tree, and he didn't realize that when you grab the train, it stops going around.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm Lionel or the smaller HO tracks.
No, it was the American Flyer track. It was
those are great.
What was Lionel was 3 tracks?
Yep.
And American Flyer was 2 tracks.
Yep.
And HO were just small, dainty tracks.
Aww.
But
that's awesome.
Well, Margot's the smartest woman. She made the best food. She made a reservation.
And she's not even Jewish. No, we went out. We went out for an afternoon at an Italian restaurant, a great Italian restaurant that we in our neighborhood, and the service was great, the food was great, and Margot celebrated, and Meg, John Jr.'s wife, celebrated. Wow, we don't have to clean up.
That's the best.
You know what? That's the worst. That's the worst feel. You know what? That must have been a beautiful feeling. It's nice. You know what, John? It's nice to see you so so in love with it. When you see your grandchild and wanting to be with him, and it's just. Well,
I had him with me.
A lot to a family.
We had him with me when we went to St. Patrick's on Christmas Eve. And the cardinal came over and blessed him and kissed him and with all the singers, the choir in Christmas Eve, he's 9 months old. His eyes were wide open. Where am I? And St. Patrick's is a grandiose church. And it's beautiful. He was looking around. Where am I? What is this place?
So much new sounds and sights, and everything's brand new. And that's kind of a special aspect.
So now we got to hear all the rumors, what's going on in New York from Todd Shapiro. What do you hear?
What do you got for us?
So just a few things. First, the President Trump did something really huge in Louisiana. I don't know if you saw. I didn't know about it. So do you know he made you know what he did with the governor of so Governor Jeff Landry, who's actually a friend of mine in Louisiana, he actually gave him an international appointment. He made him the special envoy for Greenland.
Whoa.
And this happened 2
and
years ago. The Danish government is going crazy, ready to attack Louisiana over Trump's appointment. So you might see a war. It might be like the battle. What's that song you always sing, John? The battle.
Battle of New Orleans. Johnny Horton.
We have the Battle of New Orleans song. I mean,
Johnny Horton. Johnny Horton. Andrew Jackson's 1813 Battle of New Orleans.
No, in 1814 we took
14, right?
Well, I mean,
God, John, how's it go?
In 1814, 1914, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we caught the bloody British in a town in New Orleans. We fired our guns and the British kept a-coming. There wasn't as many as there was a while ago. We fired once more and they began to run it on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico.
See, they got it wrong. The Gulf of America.
That's right. We got to get an updated version of that.
We got an updated version. You don't think this is a popular song in Great Britain right now, right?
Somehow I doubt it. Somehow I doubt it.
So what are you guys
So we're going to take Greenland and we're going to make it the Gulf of America too.
Yes.
In between Greenland and North America.
That's version 2. So that's good, Todd. All right.
You get 8 inches of snow. You get 8 inches of snow coming your way.
Yeah.
They expect the worst snowstorm of the year coming at 4:00 today in New York City.
That's
right.
John, on 8 inches of snow.
Can we get the snowstorm after dinner? Instead of
pretty
before
much.
dinner?
Well, I mean, it's kind of close. I mean, it depends on what time you're going to eat, because it sounds like the worst of it's going to start around 5 o'clock. Todd said 4 is when the flake should start, but then maybe it starts to get heaviest about an hour past that, and then it goes overnight. Noah, is that supposed to go through 1 a.m. overnight, the snow, or is that 1 p.m. tomorrow?
It's going to be, it's going to start around 5 o'clock here in the city, and then it's going to be pretty vicious overnight. That's when most of the snow will fall. And then by like 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, it should clear out. But now they've upgraded. They're saying it could be as much as 8 inches, which would make it the biggest snowstorm we've had since 2022.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what do you do? What do you do with a mayor? The mayor is not, not exactly, he's almost, do you judge a mayor based on a snowstorm? This mayor's gone in 4 or 5 days.
Lindsey,
I mean, it's good. You're talking about. Look at the snow. Who this snowstorm hurt? It hurt Bloomberg. Who is this?
John Lindsey got crushed. Todd, War Room, best restaurant in the capital region in Albany. What are you doing to expand and make it even bigger and better? Number 1 this year.
Well, we got a new one coming in. It's going to be called the Greenhouse, and we're working on getting a major New York City steakhouse to come into Albany, which would be the first time ever, because Albany got good food, but it's not New York City, and having a New York City steakhouse is going to definitely make a difference. Jack's, which is an institution, has been closed since COVID. It's one of the oldest restaurants. It goes back 113 years. It's called Jack's Oyster House. They even used it in the movie Billions. It just recently reopened, and they do dollar oysters for an hour. So it's getting a lot of steam, and people are excited. I think Albany's going to come back. I mean, it's had its run, and it's been a little rough lately since COVID. But the governor's, believe it or not, put $400 million into the city.
But Todd, you still didn't give us any good rumors in the New York area.
Well, what rumors you want to hear?
Do I tell you? You're in charge.
So, rumor tonight, actually tomorrow night, Eric Adams is having a big party at Gracie Mansion. He's calling
I wasn't invited.
Dance. Well, you're invited with me.
They're using all the food.
Dance. Well, I'm not bringing it from Louisiana. I'll tell you that. At least from my wife's aunt's house. But they're having it's going to be called the Last Dance. I mean, I guess because he's it's his last week. The
last dance in Gracie Mansion. Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah. The last dance. Well, Todd,
we had that song, The Last Dance.
Give him ideas.
Yeah,
Save the Last Dance for me.
Yes. Well, I guess you could do that. You could do
which one?
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we have with us the United States Senator Lindsey Graham from the great state of South Carolina. And how was your Christmas, Senator?
Filled with calories and gifts. It was very nice, and I'll pay for it later, but it was a great day with the family, and I hope you had a good Christmas, and everybody had a good Hanukkah, and let's look forward to a year of peace and prosperity in 26.
Well, I think President Trump is trying to solve all the world's problems, and I understand that he's meeting with Zelensky on Sunday. I mean, I think this guy works 7 days a week, and
I've never met anybody like him. The energy he has is really unmatched, but. The president's really put the puzzle together in a pretty good way. We've got an agreement, I think, between Europe and Ukraine and the United States about how to end the war in Ukraine honorably. You're not going to evict every Russian soldier, so you got to be careful about land swaps. But having said that, my goal is to make sure we don't have a third invasion, and we have to have security guarantees making it such that Putin would not do this again. Have an independent, democratic, freestanding Ukraine, but they're going to have to make some concessions. But I'm hoping that meeting goes to well Sunday. But the one thing I keep telling the president and everybody else, how this war ends in Russia, Ukraine will determine what China does with Taiwan. So we got to make sure we keep the big picture here.
Understood. And don't forget, as long as President Trump is president, China has said we're not moving into Taiwan. And the president, don't forget, President Putin said if Trump was president in 2021 to 25, we wouldn't have moved into Ukraine. So,
I believe that.
And I believe it too.
President. Yeah. But the problem we have is President Trump won't be president forever. And one thing that great presidents do, and he's been a great president, I think Trump has, is to set the conditions for peace when they leave. And what would that look like? Ending the war in Ukraine, if you have security guarantees blessed by Congress, where America would guarantee Ukraine's security by providing air power and command and control if Putin ever does this again, building up the Ukrainian army so they will be a deterrent all their own, and having European forces as tripwires. If we did those three things, then there wouldn't be an invasion after Trump. When it comes to Taiwan, President Trump is building new battleships with nuclear-tipped tactical nuclear weapons. That's a deterrent all of its own. But if we end this Ukraine-Russia war in a good way where China looks like it was not worth it, we reinforce Taiwan's ability to defend itself, increase our presence in Asia, build a larger navy, then Taiwan's less likely to invade when President Trump leaves.
Now, with Putin coming in, not Putin, with Zelensky coming in on Sunday, is he going to try to get this deal done before New Year's?
Well, I think Zelensky's in a good spot. They're going to have to give up some territory. You don't want to give it to Russia. You just recognize you can't take it back. De facto recognition. You don't want to reward this invasion by actually giving title. But, it all comes down to Putin. And I don't think Putin will accept it, to be honest. He believes he militarily can continue to gobble up parts of Ukraine. I think he's going to say yes, but. And if I'm right, President Trump needs to lower the boom on him by putting tariffs on China and other countries that buy Russian oil. He needs to give Zelensky Ukraine tomahawks to hit Russia deeper and make Russia a state sponsor of terrorism and start seizing ships that carry sanctioned Russian oil. He should do all those things if Putin says no.
Now, I was talking to President Trump this morning. He called into the radio show, and I said to him, with crude oil being down to $55 a barrel right now, Putin at $100 a barrel, I was advertising that he was making $1 billion a day. So if it's down to 55, that puts the hurt on Putin. Yes. Besides giving a discount for people to take it. So how?
I tell you what, Trump's done a really good job of putting pressure on Russia's economy. He put a 25% tariff on India for buying cheap Russian oil. Now, before the invasion of 2022, India was buying 3% of their oil from Russia. After the invasion, Russia has been selling it at a steep discount. It went up to almost 30%. Well, Trump put a 25% tariff on India. Now they're weaning themselves off Russian oil. China is the biggest purchaser of oil from Russia and Iran. So if Putin says no, or if he says yes, but if I were Trump, I would hit China and make them put pressure on Putin. Without China, Putin couldn't last very long. And I give President and his team real high marks for putting a noose around Russia's economy, and they just need to tighten it if Putin says no.
Understood that. Now, Venezuela. I also said to the president this morning, they're blocked off right now.
Right.
Maduro, how soon do we see him go?
Don't get overly attached to him. The one thing I admire a lot about President Trump, but he's looking at cleaning up our backyard, making the world safer. I'd love to see, a deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel to end the Arab-Israeli conflict. But you got to deal with Hamas before you can do that. So if Hamas doesn't disarm, I hope he'll give Bibi the green light this weekend to go finish Hamas off. When it comes to Venezuela, they're a narco-terrorist state in our backyard. Drugs pouring out of Venezuela into America, mostly cocaine. He's aligned with Hezbollah, and you know the world really well, John. Hezbollah is an important proxy of Iran. He's been terrorizing America. Maduro has dumped tens of thousands of people into our country, hurting our economy and putting our security at risk. And Trump has made a decision. This guy's got to go, and he's going to go. The blockade is working. I'm not advocating land forces, but I would expect land targets to be hit from the air in Venezuela fairly soon. After having made all this effort to stand Maduro down, we can't back off. It would be a disaster if we did. So I think he's going to go fairly soon, and we'll hopefully have a new ally in Venezuela, a country that can be an ally of America, not an enemy of America. And Cuba's next.
Cuba is in trouble.
Yeah, it's a communist dictatorship, been a thorn in our side since the 50s, and they're a narco-terrorist state too. So I think 26 is going to be a year of resetting the world, a year for the good guy, a bad year for the bad guy. Hopefully we can finish Hamas off and have peace in the Mideast. Have to go after Hezbollah, but you got Venezuela, you got Cuba. I'm just very impressed, and get a deal in Russia, Ukraine we can live with. And, President Trump has just been a unbelievable figure. He's kind of like a cross between Ronald Reagan and P.T. Barnum. I like him a lot.
Next year is New Year's. The new year, I think things have been lagging, and I think we're going to I predicted.
100%.
I was the first one to predict 50,000 on the Dow for 2025. I'm the first one to predict 60,000 on the Dow for 2026 because, the economy has been lagging with interest rates going down and gas prices going down. We're going to make the greatest comeback ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so, John. You know the economy. You got a very interesting portfolio from all kind of stuff, so you understand it. But the last quarter was 4.3% GDP growth. Interest rates are coming down. Mortgage payments are going to be lower. Gas prices were at $4.90 in 2022. They're under $3 today. We're producing more oil and gas here in America. I think the cost of living is going to go down. And I want to do a reconciliation bill. The one big, beautiful bill we did last year where we had the largest tax cut in history, the largest spending reduction, money for the military, a bunch of energy reforms. I want to do another one of those where we can go after welfare reform. What's going on out in Minnesota is tip of the iceberg. So I'd like to do a reconciliation bill where Republicans with a majority vote, not 60 vote, that we can make life more affordable. Keep chipping away at Obamacare, which is a disaster. And so my priority next year is to have a reconciliation bill that makes life in America more affordable and go after the fraud and the waste in these welfare programs.
Well, Senator Lindsey Graham, you're one of the smartest U.S. senators we have, and I appreciate your common sense besides.
I'll take that as a compliment, but
it is.
I don't know what that means.
It's because you have common sense.
Well, that's what the president has. And John, that's what you have. You know, you've got a radio show that I like being on because you know what the hell you're talking about. President Trump's got common sense. Venezuela, why should we live with a bunch of drug traffickers in our backyard? Why don't we stand up to ISIS? And, you know, what he did in Nigeria makes the world safer, going after these bastards, killing all the Christians in Africa. President Trump's got good common sense. You keep taxes low. You find more oil and gas here, so you have to buy less from people who hate your guts. It's just common sense. And I think I have that, and I know the president does, and I know you do. And if we'll stay with common sense in 26, we'll keep the House and the Senate and have a great year.
Well, Senator Lindsey Graham, Happy New Year. I look forward to the new year, and we'll be looking forward to spending more time together and talking more together. And God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, pal. Take care. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On the phone lines right now, midday host Greg Kelly. You'll hear him later today, 12:15 to 3 p.m., his slot on the early afternoons here for 77 WABC. Greg, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, James, John. It's good to be with you.
Are the kids back yet?
They are. They came back, and it's a wonderful reunion. And they're running around. Grandparents are here. Everybody is very happy. Very, very happy. Santa was very good to them. You know what I mean? Santa took care of them in a big way.
That is a wonderful thing. Especially, you know, grandparents sort of spoil little grandkids, don't they?
Yes. This is quite the phenomenon. And they're very insistent about it. Look, I got to tell you, my parents are pretty damn good to me as well. They really were. It's not like they, Bill Cosby has this routine about the kids used to, go to anytime the son asked for $5, he's got a story about how he walked 5 miles to go to school every day. And then those grandkids, every little thing. So I love it. And life is beautiful.
Greg, the president called into the show today. Were you able to hear it yet?
No, actually, this is breaking news to me. Really, I just woke up. How was it?
He was excellent. And he talked about he defending the Christians in Nigeria by knocking, hitting on the ISIS that was killing Christians.
Well, what a remarkable opportunity to talk to the president. Congratulations. I saw the news last night, and I thought that this was, effective, and this is leadership. You may remember this Boko Haram terrorist group. I mean, they've been around for 15, 20 years. It's an offshoot of ISIS. And they kidnapped something like 500 girls from a Christian school in Nigeria. And you may remember there was a campaign. It was a social media campaign, Bring Back Our Girls. I'll never forget, Michelle Obama had a sign that said, Bring Back Our Girls. And she had, pouting. Everybody did this. Models did it. Pop stars did it. Everybody was doing it. Bring Back Our Girls. You hold up a little sign that said, Bring Back Our Girls. And it was a cool thing to do for a little while, and then everybody forgot. And I'll just never forget that Michelle Obama, holding with all of her, with everything at the White House's disposal, it just was this sad face with a piece of paper that said, "Bring back our girls." Now, who the hell are you going to do? Who's going to bring them back?
Who's going to do it? Is it, and that's it. And then it was forgotten. And it told me a lot about social media. It told me a lot about the Obamas, quite frankly. It told me a little bit about politics. And, this is a man, and this is what I think why he doesn't fit in the swamp. It's not all talk.
Yeah.
He delivers, and he's a man of action. He builds things. He does things. And
you're right, Greg. I mean, in many ways, because you've talked about how it's a line from you that I've always appreciated. The country's kind of become this place where it's all about whatever you say you're going to do or whatever you say you did and how important you feel your positions are. But President Trump is sort of the anti-virtue signaler with that. He doesn't care about the way people are going to perceive the stuff he does or says. He does what he thinks is right. So, I mean, in terms of those airstrikes against ISIS in Nigeria there, and just the horrors that the Christian community has been going through. I'm sure you're not, privy to the reports on the ground, like from a military perspective, but do you think those airstrikes will make a big difference in terms of degrading ISIS there or in Nigeria or whatever?
Yes, I do. I immediately saw reporting that says, experts say that this will have minimal impact. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
You must have been watching CNN.
Right.
Or even worse, MSNBC.
MS, yes.
The New York Times and the rest just downplaying this immediately by definition. Oh, this is something we can't do. Well, look, you got bad guys on the ground. We know that. These are very bad guys. We know where they are. And we just threw a bunch of Tomahawk missiles at them. Incredibly accurate missiles, ship fired, and it's worth it. We have a military. We spend a lot of money on it, and I don't want to use it willy-nilly. But what President Trump is doing, I mean, this is like the kind of the most pure function of a military, keeping drugs out of America and protecting Christians who have been. This is not an overnight thing. This has been going on for a long time, and finally, instead of whatever sanctions. I will point out, by the way, the Nigerian government supported this. By the way, we're working with them.
So we got double coupons. Mm-hmm. The Christians loved it, and the Nigerian government supported it. I mean, what could be better than that?
Double coupons. Yeah.
I'm still a grocer.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely. So Greg, obviously we're all looking forward to 2026. Maybe there's some trepidation about the fact that there's going to be the big change at City Hall and, Mom Donnie moving in, but you're feeling optimistic, right? As we get ready for the new calendar year?
I am, actually. I am. I don't want it to be a year of doom and gloom about the midterms. The midterms. We may lose the Congress in the midterms. That happens. That happens every time. I mean, we got to fight like hell. Hopefully it doesn't happen, and there's a way to, but it probably will happen. And that doesn't mean all is lost or anything like that in midterms. That's the way they want us to feel. But, there will be some setbacks. But, with what we were talking about a moment ago, to do things and not just say things. And I think that's very much on my mind. To try to have make a difference in some way, big or small, in 2026. I heard there's this phrase, be the change you want, right? Just don't ask for it and do it. It's not, the cavalry isn't necessarily, no one else is necessarily going to take care of it. We have this sense in life that somebody else is going to do it. Somebody else is going to take care of it. If you get that feeling that something needs to be done, you'd be surprised. It may be you're the person who has to start doing things. It's just a very interesting kind of phenomenon I've noticed, that no one else is necessarily going to be. Each one of us has to do our part. And I'm very excited about 2026. Of course, I got to lose weight. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do all the basics.
And you have to get rid of the cold. You still got it.
Yeah. Sorry about that, gentlemen.
And Greg, also, you'll be happy to know that one of your prized pens, one of your prized markers, it fell on the studio floor, but I retrieved it for you. So don't worry, your lavender pen is in good form here.
Oh, you can keep that one, James.
The lavender's appropriate for me, right?
That's a perfect gift for you, please. By all means.
Well, Merry Christmas. That sounds good. I like that.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and get rid of that cold.
I'm working on it. Thank you, John. Thank you, James.
You.
All right, Greg. Have a good one. So we'll see Greg here later at the station.
12:15?
12:15 to 3 p.m. every day. And not only just here on 77, but also on the Red Apple Audio Networks.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And the Department of Homeland Security is trying to inspire people, more of them, to self-deport. So far, it's almost 2 million have self-deported. That's amazing under President Trump. And they're now offering, as opposed to $1,000 and a free flight, $3,000 and a free flight, trying to get people to voluntarily leave the country. And then if they want to come back in, they go to the front of the line. Well, joining us to talk about this and so much more is acting ICE Director Todd Lyons. Director Lyons, what do you make of this? And do you think a lot of people will take advantage of this, an extra bonus for Christmas?
Hey, Rita, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think a lot of people will. You look at that number, right? Almost 2 million people that we know of have self-deported. So that just shows you right there that people now realize that, President Trump and Secretary Noem are serious when they say, when ICE is out doing their law enforcement mission, if we encounter you and you're not here, if you're here in the country illegally, you're going to go home. And hopefully this will inspire people to go home on their own, not sit in ICE detention, not blow their chance to come back in and enjoy the American dream. So it's better off they can go back home on their own, on our own free flight, and then have the chance to come back in the United States, do it the right way.
Really quickly, too, I saw this also per Director Lyons about that they have rounded up 1,000 illegal immigrants during what you guys are calling Operation Angel's Honor. And it is named after Laken Riley, of course, that beautiful Augusta, Georgia woman who was brutally murdered by an illegal. Talk about how important that big sweep is, and also to honor these victims and make sure people never forget their names.
One big thing for us at ICE, every officer, every special agent goes out there, and our hearts and prayers are with these angel families, right? Because to your point, I think a lot of elected politicians don't spend enough time with these angel families. And obviously, the Lincoln Riley Act, it was passed by the 119th Congress, voted on in January. So this is a congressional law. This is an act that, ICE now will detain anyone that has these certain category of crimes. And when you see the crimes, you almost think to yourself, I can't believe it took a congressional act to have it be a mandatory detention, but rape, homicide, assault, you start seeing these crimes. We did it the past 14 days, in honor of Lincoln. And you think about, in 14 days, we got almost 1,000 people. Actually, we broke over 1,000 today. And these were individuals that were released from custody that should have been held because of the crimes they've already committed. And when you think about the fact that they were back out on the street and we had to go out and find them again, it just shows that President Trump is serious this time, making sure America is going to be safe again.
I thought, what a powerful tribute to her, to Director, too. No one should ever forget her name. I couldn't believe this, Director Todd Lyons of ICE, that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the so-called Maryland dad, the wonderful guy who was having margaritas with Senator Chris Van Hollen, that a judge just recently ruled that he can stay out through Christmas, giving him a little bit of through the Christmas holiday. And at this point, they're saying that he can't be re-detained, at least short term. How crazy is this? How long this has taken. You guys have said, look at his background. Look at he's got the human smuggling, all that stuff in his background that you guys have reported. And yet this guy is out now roaming with the judge seems to feel sorry for him.
Well, Rita, one of the big issues is the fact that this is just one case that's obviously in the national spotlight. But there are hundreds of cases like this nationwide. And that's a big frustrating thing for us is when, a lot of these judges put their own political beliefs ahead of public safety and ahead of the rule of law. And that's one thing that ICE is dealing with every day is the fact that there are so many activist judges out there that put the twist on the Immigration and Nationality Act. And then you see a case like this. Obviously, we're not going to get in front of the Department of Justice and what they're planning on doing with their rights and appeals. But all over the United States, there are so many, whether it be elected officials or judges, that are taking the side of criminal illegal aliens, that you have to just sit back and wonder, like, what are we doing at this point, right? All we're trying to do is enforce the law the way it's written. And when you look at a lot of these bad actors and you look at the crimes they have allegedly committed or been convicted of, no common sense individual would want this person in their neighborhood.
Yeah, you're right. You know what's amazing too? I can't believe what you guys are dealing with every single day, Director. These Somalis, the other day, you guys were going into Columbus, Ohio, and you go to a hotel, you're doing these sweeps. I'm looking at George Venizelos, who's former FBI, and DEA is with us too. So you guys know how important it is. You go undercover, you're worried what's going to be behind the door. And then apparently all these guys came out and started protesting and screaming. How difficult is it making your job, Director?
Well, it's really difficult for us, right? Because we're obviously, we have great support from all of our federal partners, U.S. Marshals, FBI, DEA, ATF. But now we have to, instead of sending a team of 6, 7, 8 agents out in the field to make an arrest, now we have to have a team to help rescue or, enforce the perimeter security for the team making the arrest. So we're having to put more resources out there. We see every day, assault on ICE agents up over 1,400%, death threats over 8,000%. Every morning I wake up and I read reports from the overnight 6, 7 vehicle rammings a night. It's heartbreaking.
Is this a civil war going on in some of our cities?
Judge, the scary thing is every day we go out there and it just seems like we're trying to do our law enforcement mission, but every day it's a battle, right? Every day, a lot of these criminal aliens are fighting back. Every day we have these activists just get involved in a law enforcement situation that they shouldn't be. So it's extremely, heartbreaking for us and frustrating because all we want to do is go out and get the bad guy, right? But instead we have to send out 16 more agents, officers to just protect the team that's out there trying to do right and make that arrest.
Former FBI.
Yeah, it's going to be a dangerous situation. They're going to get somebody killed at some point. The message they're sending out there. I mean, you have to respect the law, but they're not respecting the law, and that's the problem right now in this country. And it's going to cause some harm to some people who shouldn't be involved in that. Really.
And everybody, I want to tell that's George Venizelos, former FBI and DEA, talking, Mr. Director.
Yeah, and he's right. And the fact of the matter is, we hear so many elected officials that are going out there, right? And like I said earlier when we talked about the Lincoln Riley Act, we're out there enacting and enforcing a law that Congress passed. But we have elected officials every day that are calling for the impediment of ICE, resisting ICE, right? Calling for these protesters to show up at a law enforcement scene, which no civilian should get themselves involved in an arrest, right? And it's not safe for my agents or officers. It's not safe for the person who arrested. It's just not safe for the public. So really, I think until the political rhetoric is toned down, we're not going to see any of this violence stop.
You know what we need to do, but we need to get the government, we need to get Congress to do something here to stop members of Congress and U.S. senators from supporting the actions against law enforcement and ICE agents. I mean, there should be something that can be done to stop them.
Yeah, we say it all the time, too. I get a lot of questions from elected officials, and especially when it comes to, the masks with ICE agents and other law enforcement officers. And I would love for an elected official to stand up and hold the people accountable that are doxing our agents and officers and their families, or that are threatening or causing harm against other law enforcement officers. Stand up with the law enforcement officers who, at the same time, are the constituents of these elected officials, which is even more frustrating. They're taking the sides of illegal aliens who shouldn't be here over the men and women who wear the badge every day that are actually their constituents in their neighborhoods. It's so frustrating.
And Mike Sapercoon.
You know, Director, as spending 20 years in the NYPD, you're not just up against the bad guys. You're up against all the politicians. You're up against everybody who doesn't really care about law enforcement. How your guys go to work every day is amazing, and they can keep up the efforts that they have. It's just ridiculousness that people are against the police as they are, and it has to change. And the politicians have to change, and what a great job your guys are doing to go out there and do their job every day, and we certainly appreciate it.
No, thank you. We appreciate all the support. And they go out there every day, the men and women of ICE and our other federal partners. And, they are motivated right now, but it is tough, especially when they get demonized in the media. They get demonized by their own elected officials. But, that brotherhood and sisterhood is strong. They're out there every day, and they know they have the backing of the president. They know Secretary Noam's leading from the front. And they know the American people voted for this, and they know that they're doing a righteous law enforcement mission, and that's what they're carrying on with every day.
Yeah, bravo.
Thank you so much for coming on this, 2 days to Christmas.
Yeah, thank you. We're thinking of you
and
guys.
Stay safe.
Yeah, please.
And we're there to back you.
No, thank you so much. I love being on. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Joining us right now on the phone line, John Solomon of Just the News. And John, I understand you have some stuff you want to break for us because we've been hearing a lot about this talk that's coming up on Sunday between Zelensky and President Trump down in Mar-a-Lago. Don't know if that's part of it, but bring us up to speed on what you want to talk about.
Well, a lot. So let's talk about one of the things the president just talked about on your show, the attack on ISIS in Nigeria, helping Christians who've been persecuted there. Just a little bit ago, the prime minister of Nigeria acknowledging that he gave the go-ahead and some of the intelligence to make sure that President Trump was successful, a sign that you can do these sort of things and get the cooperation of the country. I think that's a really important thing. I think Democrats are ready to pounce on this saying, act of war. Well, not really. Actually, Nigeria's prime minister gave the go-ahead. So he just confirmed that a few minutes ago. A scary thing, as you know, President Trump recently declared fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. We interviewed the former chief of weapons of mass destruction inside the War Department. He said there is growing evidence that terrorists want to aerosolize fentanyl so that they could carry out a mass attack. If you dropped it from the sky in poisoned water and food supplies, you could kill millions in a single attack. He said that's one of the great benefits of what President Trump has done now. He's opened the door for the War Department to preemptively strike terrorists who might be considering doing that with fentanyl. That's a story that has a lot of people talking today. And another one, the Homeland Security Department on Christmas Eve put out some numbers. How many people picked up on this? More than 17,500 illegal aliens have been captured under the new Laken Riley law. This is an extraordinary tribute to the young Georgia nursing student who was killed by an illegal alien from Venezuela, a Trenda Agua member. Those are the first numbers we've gotten under the law. By the way, that was the very first law that President Trump signed when he returned to office in January of this year. One last one. We'll have this tomorrow, but you guys get it first. Since we're on the subject of illegal aliens in Trenda Agua, we've been tallying up the number of Trenda Agua leaders and gang members who've been federally indicted since President Trump took office. More than 260 Trenda Agua members have now been indicted. That is an extraordinary strike against a group that during the Biden years ran wild with really no accountability at all, just like ISIS in Nigeria, those who seek to do harm to our country. Finding out this president has a plan for them, and it's a tough plan. You're going to get indicted or you're going to get struck by bombs, but one way or the other, he's going to keep this country safer. And so that's the top headlines we have right now at Just the News.
Well, that is a lot of headlines. What concerns you the most, John?
Listen, I think there is a lot of concerns about what happens if the Supreme Court throws the economy up in the air and rules against President Trump's tariffs next year. They are clearly working. They're clearly creating a global realignment of the economy that's to the benefit of U.S. workers.
And I think a lot of people I talk to are wondering, what do we do if the Supreme Court gives us a ruling that says that President Trump can't do that? How do we unwind the successes we have? What do our enemies do to take advantage of that? The president himself has expressed a lot of concern about that, but I think when I talk to economists, when I talk to the key people at the State Department and others, that is a really significant concern. Now, if the court were to sanction these, I think the president could finish up a lot of these tariff deals in 2026, and we'd have a completely realigned economy by the end of before the 2026
You'll have
election.
a world, the best economy ever. And I've already predicted a Dow Jones of 60,000 by December 31, 2026. And, I've been right on all the numbers in the last 2 years.
You've been spot on.
And for the Supreme Court to hurt, that would hurt the United States of America. That would hurt union workers. That would hurt everybody because President Trump is bringing business back to America. He is forcing car companies, pharmaceutical companies to bring the prices down and to bring business back in America, where during some of the other years, companies were moving their warehouses, their manufacturing facilities to Mexico. So what President Trump is doing in a simple language is, if you move it out of Detroit into Mexico, we're going to charge you a tariff to bring it back in. So that negates it from moving it from Detroit, and the auto workers keep their jobs.
It is remarkable the impact it's already had. I mean,
it's that simple.
There are people who were against tariffs in January who have completely flipped on the issue. Like, hey, it works now. It's a kind of a remarkable thing to watch.
Yeah, that seems to happen a lot with President Trump's agenda, doesn't it, John? So
he flips people's thinking.
And saving Christians in Africa. And I'm still, we didn't have time. He had a call coming in from China, so we didn't have much time to spend with us. But the fact is that where do we go from here? I mean, Venezuela. Cuba is going to surrender one of these days because they have no oil coming in. Venezuela's not going to support them anymore, and Russia is definitely not supporting Cuba. I mean, he works 7 days a week. President Trump.
He does. I said this earlier this year. I think there are strong possibilities that two of America's longtime adversaries, Cuba and Iran, that their regimes could fall on Trump's watch, because while we're all focused on all the other things, the 8 peace deals he's already achieved, the Ukraine-Russia deal that we're still pursuing, the economic and political and diplomatic pressures that the president has quietly placed on Cuba and Iran are far greater than are chronicled in most of the media. And I think those are two regimes that literally could fall. They've been nemesis for us for 70 to 80 years. We're seeing, for 40 to 50 years in the case of Iran, but you're seeing a really significant pressure campaign. It's done quietly. It's done through these phone calls at Mar-a-Lago and in the Oval Office. But I think with China, which needs American marketplace, the president leverages their access to our marketplace to get these sort of diplomatic pressures applied behind the scenes. And beyond the economic world being realigned, I think the security world is being realigned as well, really quickly. I mean, Trend Agua really handicapped now in a really big way. ISIS, we had Seb Gork on our show on Monday. 400, this is before last night's attack. 456 jihadist terrorists have been wiped off the planet since January. That's more than the last 3 years combined under President Biden.
Yeah, that's really significant stuff, and the kind of thing that people should know about in terms of the ongoing ICE operations and all that stuff. John Solomon of justthenews.com. And, one of the stories I see, John, on your website right now is how this judge in California has ordered the state to stop hiding those gender transition surgeries from parents and the drugs that the kids
How can they do that?
I wish I knew,
parents.
John. I wish I knew. Right. I wish I knew. But is that,
have they gone insane completely?
Is that issue starting to swing back a little bit, John? Do you think that the nation's going to have an effective...
among the people, it has never swung because it's always been a 70-80% issue in America that parents have the rights to be involved with this. But California obviously has taken the lead in swinging or trying to swing it the other way. This case, this particular ruling by this judge in California, I think is the case that most likely will reach the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court will have a really significant opportunity on this issue to affirm that parents have the right to weigh in. You can't have a secret society trying to convert children in our public school system. So I think this is the case to keep an eye on.
Yep, absolutely. Well
John
said.
Solomon, thank you for everything you do, and God bless you. And let's have a great new year in 2026.
I loved your interview today. I was listening with great interest. That interview with President Trump was a blast, and I love WABC. So thanks for having me on.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Calling in right now is Dr. Mark Siegel, who has a terrific book, and we gave him a great book party last week. And Mark, there's so many things, Doctor, there's so many things going on. What do you want to start with this Friday morning, day after Christmas?
I have a few idle thoughts. First of all, the music you have on, those are called bumpers when you put them on the brakes. That they are terrific today. You're uplifting my spirits, number one. Number two, I've been getting an impouring of miracles from around the country since my Medical Miracles book, The Miracles Among Us, came out. As you know, New York Times #1 bestseller. I'm getting miracles being written into me every day. People that were told that they had Parkinson's and then they're cured, and people that pray and a tiny baby that had no pulse for 60 minutes becomes a normal teenager. A patient of mine that I've been praying for years fully recovers after a massive cancer of the neck. I mean, it's a really good season for that. And then topping the miracle list, John Catsimatidis is going to be up for Best Supporting Actor against Gwyneth Paltrow, who, by the way, is only 53, John. She's only 53, so she's a lot younger than you. Maybe both can win. I think unless there's this DEI everywhere, you still get to have a Best Supporting Actress and a Best Supporting Actor, not one, right? So both are going to win.
Well, Dr. Siegel, obviously, you are in many ways both a TV and radio star. So I guess you could probably give John some tips about, like how to maximize your appearance on screen and on camera. But
I don't think so. No, I watched him carefully. Listen, he'll tell you that he was just playing himself. But he was so natural and so calm and so in scene. I'm sure he had to redo the scene many times with that particular director.
At least 20 times.
Yeah, but you come off so naturally and forcefully. You're really, really a good actor. Really, much
well, I mean, have you heard our interview we did with Kevin O'Leary? He had to whack Timothy Chalamet's behind 30 different times. And then it finished at 3:30 in the morning.
And John, you bring heart and passion. Gwyneth Paltrow just mails in every role she ever does.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow. And let's hope O'Leary didn't enjoy that too much, Let's not.
You could see it on his face. He was enjoying it.
he was back in his frat brother days or something like that during the initiations. But Dr. Siegel, I just wanted to key in on something you said. You made a point of noting that John is the stronger actor in comparison to Sid Rosenberg. That got a little buried in your comments there. I just wanted to highlight that. Just wanted to draw it back to the fore.
Well, look, Sid is excellent, but he's very, very focused on his tan all the time. He wants to be a Hollywood actor. John's happy to be in New York. I mean, Sid wants to be a Hollywood actor, so it's a little different.
It's like the difference between the L.A. Scene and the New York scene,
I'm not sure. Hollywood might be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear a lot from my California friends that Hollywood is not the Hollywood we used to know about.
Yeah, it's not the same area of artistic expression because there's so much
Sid
money.
wants to epitomize The Rock. John wants to epitomize reality.
I think Sid would be very happy to hear these epitomizing The Rock. So, Dr. Siegel, obviously.
By the way, I'll say one medical thing. If you had told me 25 years ago that they were going to clean up the air in L.A., I would have said there was a zero chance of it. But somehow, it's actually a lot clearer there than it used to be. You can see the sky, you can see the mountains now. That's a huge improvement because that's what LA has to offer: is the arid climate, the desert, the mountains, and the sea. You know, at least you can see it now.
Well, that's obviously a success story for them, and one that I'm sure Gavin Newsom will be highlighting in his bid for greater things.
He gets nailed for $2.8 billion in campaign contributions to his wife to cover up the wildfires that he conspired against with Pacific Gas and Electric in Southern California.
And they're getting their butt kicked right now with this really heavy rainfall.
Big medical problems on the wildfire front. Big medical problems. They cause long-term lung problems, increased cancer risk. They're a mess. And Newsom has zero chance. I think the Republicans are actually hoping he runs.
So, Dr.
John, what do you think?
I think he has about zero chance. I mean, President Trump was on at 7:45 this morning, and gasoline in the cities and the states are $2.45 or whatever, $2.50, $2.75. You know, California, God knows what it is. I mean, I hope it's less than $8.
And he's got so much congestion. Trucks only get 2.5 miles per gallon of diesel versus 5 miles per gallon everywhere else. So he creates his own pollution, lack of productivity, high expenses passed along consumers who are paying the highest prices anywhere in continental America.
So there you go, Sid. You live there, Sid, and we'll live here.
Dr. Mark Siegel is our guest, and you can check out his new book, The Miracles Among Us, out now, a bestseller, and definitely one that's worth looking into, especially during this season, right? You know, we're really leaning in on the miracles that are among us for sure. But Dr. Siegel, since we have you, I just have to ask, you know, my mom gave me a little stocking stuffer yesterday. There were these zinc quick release tablets. You know, you have the zinc as soon as you feel the cold coming on. Does that really make a difference, or is that like one of those placebo type things?
I thought you were going to say the stocking stuffer was my book.
I wish. I would have been pumped about that one.
As far as the zinc is concerned, you know, it dries up your nasal passages, and to some extent it may decrease the viruses getting in. I believe that, and I believe that inside the body on a cellular level, it decreases viral spread. I'll give it a nod, but I don't see it as a cure. I think it's something to take, but it's not as big a bonanza as some people are saying.
What's your medical recommendation for best prevention and then treatment once the cold is caught?
You know, the thing we have to realize is that colds and flu spread on surfaces. So actually keeping yourself well hydrated, which again you have moist nasal membranes, you don't get the flu as easily, and washing your hands, using those sanitizers, you know, all of that really, really helps. Getting enough sleep, exercising in the winter, which people don't do, keeping your spirits up by listening to this show. I mean, this show's amazing. All of that helps. But right now is a bad flu season in New York. And
it's very bad. Everybody I know has it.
Yeah, it's spreading like wildfire. It's a very, very aggressive flu. It did a number on Australia this year. It's 6 months ago. Now it's doing a number on us. My father, 102, just beat it. Another medical miracle. He beat the flu because I diagnosed it early. Don't be afraid to call your doctor. Get diagnosed early because we got some great anti-flu drugs out there that actually work. And also beware that you can get a secondary infection with a bacteria. So you could end up needing an antibiotic as well. So stay hydrated and be on the lookout. This flu is really spreading. Not COVID, the flu.
Dr. Siegel, every reader of your bestseller book could add a few to 5 to 15 to 25 years to his life by gleaning your medical knowledge and professionalism and wisdom, just like your father living to 102. And bless you for making America live longer and healthier through your best-selling work and your life's work.
By the way, my father at 102 has some advice, and I think John would agree with this. If someone throws a punch at you, duck.
Yeah, you want to try to avoid those kind of avoid that when possible, like me
exactly.
Forgetting to turn my microphone on. Yeah. But Dr. Siegel, great to catch up with you. Obviously, we're really excited about the success of your book, The Miracles Among Us. We continue to enjoy catching up with you here on Sid and Friends in the Morning, as always.
And John, thank you for a great book party. You are a tremendous friend, John. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Well, listen, we got to do something else to have another book party or do something else in, what are we doing in January? We have nothing planned.
Well, I'm here. Whatever you want. We could do something out east. Oh, no, too cold out east.
Yes.
We'll do something.
Well, look forward to it. Always good to spend time together.
Same here. Great to be on with you guys.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Siegel. And we do look forward to those days when it won't be so cold out east.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Joining us now, as we're talking also, President Trump has reclassified, the federal government has, marijuana to a different classification. It's a big deal. So what does it mean? Well, who better than Ken Sabet, Dr. Ken Sabet? He's president and CEO of SAM, which is Smart Approaches to Marijuana. So, Dr. Sabet, what do you make of all of this? I mean, what does this mean? It sounds like it's making it a little looser for medical research, but is it a slippery slope?
It is a slippery slope, and thankfully he just said he wants to expedite the process. We can't just unilaterally do this. So we'll go through a process. Of course, we don't exactly know if that process will be followed or what's going to happen, but so it's not done yet. But my worry about it is it gives tax breaks to the pot industry, and frankly, I think the American people might deserve some tax breaks, but not an industry that lies to us about the harms of their product. Today's marijuana is not Woodstock weed. It's 99% pure. It's causing psychosis, schizophrenia. It's a totally different drug than what a lot of people know. And, I have no opposition to people using it who have, terminal cancer or something like that, if it's helping them or some kind of, very, very serious disease. I don't care if they what they use. But my issue is we are sending the very bad message to young people. And I worry it may benefit some of the president's friends, unfortunately, is why he did it or why he wants to do it. But I think it's a very bad move for our country.
Governor Patterson.
Doctor, he had an alternative that he didn't take. He went to Schedule 3, where he could have gone to Schedule 2, where a lot of people would have accepted that. Can you tell me why you think he didn't do it?
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that, Governor, and thank you for your service and your, dedication to the truth here. Because unfortunately, just too many politicians they know what's right, but they don't do what's right because they see bogus polls. And so the president actually, his pollster gave him a pretty bogus number poll. I got to be honest with you, and that's another reason why the president went with it. And the reason he didn't go with 2, from what I heard, is that he said that's sort of halfway. He either does it or he doesn't do it. Now, I would have been a lot happier with 2 because they wouldn't have gotten the tax breaks.
Exactly.
And so you only get right. So I would have been much happier with 2. Frankly, the president has one point here, which is the scheduling system does need some reform. I mean, I do think we need to do reform. I do think we could do more research, but I also want to correct the record here. There's over 50,000 peer-reviewed articles about marijuana. We have spent almost $5 billion in America on marijuana research over the last 40 years. So this idea that we can't do research, that's a red herring. That's not true. And that's really disingenuous when people think that. But, I don't know. I wish he did. I would have much preferred 2 versus 3. But again, I worry his friends and golf buddies. I mean, we heard about the account about how this happened. They really wanted 3 for the tax breaks.
Wow, that's interesting. And also, by the way, you got to come back on another time, Doctor, to talk about how much stronger this marijuana is than the old marijuana.
That's right.
Yeah, let's definitely have this conversation again soon. Dr. Sabet, thank you very much. Such an important conversation.
Thank you, Doctor.
You appreciate it. Thanks, Governor.
Thank you. And who better to bring in the post-Christmas. We're trying to survive with the snow and everything else that's coming.
Well, I haven't seen any yet.
You haven't?
I mean, they promised us at 4:00. I didn't see any. They promised us at 5 o'clock. I haven't seen it.
I saw 6 o'clock.
I heard 6 o'clock.
I heard
also
6 o'clock.
They keep moving it.
They keep moving
it to the 10th of never.
I wouldn't mind. It feels like snow, though. It's cold
I heard
out.
6 o'clock pretty early today, like 10,
Let
11.
Joe Concha on. Why did we waste your time? Let's hear something intelligent.
Oh, no, we need to hear Governor Patterson's very intelligent. But anyway, let's go to Joe Concha. Joe, your prediction, since you're the weather expert.
Well, in Wyckoff, New Jersey, where I am right now, it is snowing.
Oh, there you go.
Let it snow.
Where's our little? We need a little "Let It Snow" song. That's a good point. Keep going while we cue it up. Go ahead, Joe.
Look, low pressure systems coming in from the west, and we're going to get hit with 10 inches of snow.
Very nice.
The weatherman.
Very nice. So, what do you think of Jimmy Kimmel, who seems to be creating a bit of a storm?
A bit of a storm. Why is this news? Jimmy Kimmel attacks president? He's been doing this for the past 10 years. And he goes on some London station, talks about how tyranny and fascism is booming here in the United States. Jimmy Kimmel, at last check, is Jewish. You might want to read up on the Holocaust before he starts tossing around fascism and understand what it truly means. The thing is, here's what he said, which really was just the most hilarious, the funniest thing he has said in years. He said, "We won and the president lost." And you're like, wait a minute, what did you win? You're a third place unfunny late night host. Greg Gutfeld on my network doubles his audience, despite all the press that he gets. Colbert, who's also a hack, beats him as well. So I guess you're winning by finishing third, losing $40 million a year for Disney and ABC, and President Trump, who's leader of the free world, who won the election in 2024, and you cried on the air since, Jimmy, on several occasions about Trump being president because you're a wussy and a weenie and a wimp and not funny again. All I know is Johnny Carson never spoke this way and had 15 times the audience that Kimmel did. It's so predictable and one-dimensional. I don't know. He's the Pope of late night.
Yeah, but tell us what you really feel about Kimmel.
Yeah, he needs to be passionate. He needs to be. You know what's amazing, you guys? He puts this out in a Christmas video. It's like, Merry Christmas, and I hate Trump. Can't you just leave it at Merry Christmas? I mean, that's what's so, it's so disgustingly ill-timed, right, Joe?
It's all about himself. You know, he's like, did you see him last week when he was on the air before he signed off for the year? He's like, oh, I've had a tough year. And he starts crying again. But we got through it as if he stormed a beach at Normandy. He got taken off the air for a week while making millions of dollars. And I'm supposed to feel sorry for this guy? Joe. I mean, he's just the worst. Yeah.
Joe, I have a question for you.
It's the weathercaster, Governor Patterson.
Yes. When did it is 6 o'clock, you know.
That's right.
When do you think the late night talk show hosts changed from trying to be funny or having interesting people to interview to this idea where they try to self-glorify themselves, and now it's all about them, not even about what they're talking about?
I'd say November 8th, 2016, if you want an exact date, Governor, because remember, Trump went on with Kimmel and with Colbert and with all these late night hosts, and they treated him somewhat, not fairly, but they figured, oh, all right, well, he's going to be great for ratings. There's no way he could win. And when he did win, they were just horrified by that. And then suddenly they felt that they no longer should be comedians. They no longer should entertain and give us the escapism that Carson and Leno and Letterman gave us. And instead said, okay, we're going to be part of the resistance now. And even Kimmel went on CBS one time, another network, and said, I don't care if one Trump supporter, every Trump supporter never watches me again. And if you're the bosses at ABC and Disney, wouldn't you say, did you just tell half the country not to watch? Because I'm pretty sure that's not good for business. So they see themselves as resistance warriors and not what they should be, which is entertainers. You want to have a political opinion once in a while? Fine. Carson did that, but not 90% of your content.
You're right.
Stephen Colbert, the guests he's had on most over the last 10 years, it's not Tom Hanks. It's not Clooney. It's not Julia Roberts. It's not some big star or comedian. It's been Bernie Sanders. Because he's exciting, right? That's a funny guy right there.
You know what it is? It's Trump derangement syndrome. That's what it is. Well, yeah. Joe, thank you very, very much. We so appreciate it. And Joe, hold on, because you know what, John, you know what we all stand for? Truth, justice, and the American way.
God bless America.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.